I'll be a preacher, yeah.
It really is a messy hair, don't care day today. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Allie, and today I am diving in, or should I say back into religious horror to heal my religious horror child heart. No, in all seriousness, it's always been like a topic for me that like I am not necessarily triggered by, but I am heavily obsessed with in a way. It's weird. And I really think it is my brain, my mind, like needing that like growth and like healing and stuff. And I do that by consuming other people's stories. And a lot of the time they have to do with being in some type of religious background, and it involves horror. And when those two combined, my favorite and a trauma for me, it's amazing. I'm not really a triggered person when it comes to reading, I have found. There's only a few books that have really jarred me or have made me like actually nauseous because of a trigger. And I don't know, I just seem to really eat up trauma behind religion and horror books. With that being said, this is going to be a two-part video because I want to dabble in some now at the beginning of November, but I also want to again before the end of the year. So the lineup for today's video, dun dun dun, from my library, I have Philip Fracassi? Fracassi? Is that how you say his last name? I'll figure it out. I have his newest though, the Retirement Home something something massacre, that I really want to get to. But like when I hear people talk about this author, this book, this is the one. It comes up nonstop and I want to see what it's all about. But on top of that, it's also one of my friend recommendations. It is Boys in the Valley. I'm going to talk more about it when I get to this one. On the lineup, I also have American Rapture, which is a very, very long TBR, like lingerer, because I love my girl CJ Leede. She messed me up with Mayfly, and I have wanted to dive back into her work ever since. I think that she is honestly, just after the one book, she is an author that is an automatic like repeat buy, repeat read. I want to know what's in her brain and what she's going to put in her stories. She messed me up. And I absolutely love that we're diving into what is going to dabble into religion, but also from what I've heard that this is about, it's probably going to be quite triggering to some. So I would say check your warnings, and even like if your triggers are to do with these books that I'm talking about, skip ahead. I always have timestamps down below, so if you want to enjoy the video and not be triggered, the timestamps are there. Yeah, I'm really excited to get to this one. Again, we'll talk about it when we get closer to this one. But today we are talking about Stephen King revival. I feel like any Stephen King that I haven't read is a TBR linger as well, because my ultimate like reading goal, or one of them, is to complete all of his work. As you can see, I'm sitting by both of my Stephen King shelves. I have quite a few, and I'm excited to tackle another one and to check another one off the list. I actually have two copies of this one. It's over here. I have this lovely paperback. But whenever I was looking up like end of the year books I want to read, and I was looking up like to read more religious horror, this one popped up, and I didn't really know much about revival or what it was about. Obviously from the name you think that you would get that, but I think I had only seen one certain cover of this, and even this cover, like I wouldn't automatically think this screams religious horror. My mama actually thrifted this one for me. She found it and she sent a picture and she said, "Do you have this?" And I said, "No, I don't." So she grabbed this one for me, and I absolutely love it. It still has like this sticker up here, like the residue I need to clean off, but I have jumped into this one. I recently found the paperback and I was like, see, this screams religious horror. And I just loved it, which I'm a collector of Stephen King, so I will buy any edition at this point. But I think it's really cool to have kind of both elements of this story with like the religion, but also the lightning. I have started it this past weekend, and I had other reads that I was really focused on, other videos I was really focused on, so I never like started this video. So I thought I would jump in now, why not? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish this today. And I had completely forgot that I had the audiobook for this on my Libby app for my library, so I think I'm going to take it with me whenever I go pick up Axel today, and I'll just listen to it at parent pickup and see if I can wrap it up. But this is a dark and electrifying novel about addiction, fanaticism, and what might exist on the other side of life. In a small New England town over half a century ago, a shadow falls over a small boy playing in the yard with his toy soldiers. Jamie Morton looks up to see a striking man, the new minister, Reverend Charles Jacobs, along with his beautiful wife, will transform the local church. The men and boys are all a bit in love with Mrs. Jacob. The women and girls feel the same about Reverend Jacobs, including Jamie's mother and beloved sister, Claire. With Jamie, the Reverend shares a deeper bond based on a secret obsession. When tragedy strikes the Jacobs family, this charismatic preacher curses God, mocks all religious belief, and is banished from the shocked town. Jamie has demons of his own. Wed to his guitar from the age of 13, he plays in bands across the country, leaving the nomadic lifestyle of bar band rock and roll while fleeing from his family's horrific loss. In his mid-30s, addicted to heroin, stranded, desperate, Jamie meets Charles Jacobs again with profound consequences for both men. Their bond becomes a pact beyond even the devil's devising, and Jamie discovers that revival has many meanings. This novel spans 5 decades of this guy's life, Jamie. Just like it says, it starts off as a young boy. We are introduced to like the townspeople. And I feel like here is where I have to just say, I think a huge reason why I love Stephen King so much is I'm not a huge general fiction person. Like don't get me wrong, I can understand the beauty of it. I can understand the beauty of just wanting to escape your reality and into somebody else's just day-to-day life. And if you find something intriguing or interesting about that, you know. For me, I can't do that. It's just so boring. I find myself just like, okay, you know? And I think it's always kind of been that way. Like when I was a teenager, I would read Nicholas Sparks because it was kind of like general fiction, but at the same time, you had like this romance story, or like every single one of them is so depressing and like grief. And I think at the time, like grief stories really worked for me because I was a sad girl. Where Stephen King has just always worked for me in a way of, this is another one of his stories where you have so many characters and character development throughout the story. And this is like my general fiction that I pick up. What keeps it entertaining and fun for me is I love his writing, and the more stories like this that I read, I've gravitated more to liking a lot of his characters versus the characters that I usually don't like from him. But on top of that, the horror. Like the horror is there to back it up the entire time, and I know it's just going to be a huge conclusion that is wrapped in horror, and it's just going to be everything for me. And it's just nice. It's nice to like pick up a story and feel like I'm almost reading just a regular fiction book about these people's lives, but knowing that I will stay intrigued and invested because it's going to be so much more with the horror. First whole part of this book is really those early days of him being just a little boy, the dynamic of his family, the dynamic with this reverend and the town people, and how everybody views each other. And there's just a lot of story building there in this like community. And then this tragic accident happens, and it's kind of like one thing after another. So it's like a tragedy for both families, the Reverends and this Jamie's. And so they kind of bond in a way of having like that trauma. And then they kind of go their separate way, and we learn more about like what they've been up to. And like it said, Jamie is in a band for a decade and is strung out and everything else, and the Reverend's up to some mischief, if you will. This feels so much like, how do I put this? Like, the religious part of this is not only him being a reverend in the past, but the way that he later in life uses his abilities with God and whoever to have this certain type of charm and charismatic persona to him that can convince people that he, through God, is going to help them and save them from illness and sickness. And it dives into all of that, but there's so much more horror laced throughout it. I'm having such an amazing time with it. I'm towards the end now, so like I'm really getting the juicy bits of like what's going on. And we're like at the last decade, so like the Reverend is much older in life, and he is calling on Jamie to come, and he's doing so with a threat of, you do this for me and I'll do this for you, otherwise I'm not going to. And it's like something super like devastating to Jamie, and how everything ties in from the previous decades has just been so amazing and just fun to read. But I am not really sure exactly where this is gonna go, but I'm along for the ride, and it's been a great ride so far. I'm loving it. So I hope that you guys enjoy my little religious horror journey with me. I am gonna be journaling, as well as I really want to take some fall pictures at like a church, like with my religious horror books. I don't know if I have the guts to do this or not, but I have a certain church in mind. It's like an old school church. And if I can convince James to go with me so I can take these pictures, it might be happening in this part. I also have a cross stitch. I will throw up the example picture that I'm really going to do. It's literally of a burning church. When I first seen the like burning church symbol with like your past trauma with religion and stuff like that, I originally was like, I want that as a tattoo. Part of me still does. It's not off the table at this point, but I'm like, if I'm not gonna get it right now and I'm going to simmer on it some more, I can, however, cross stitch it and then probably hang it in my bedroom. But yeah, a little fall craft, if you will. I'm excited to dabble back into cross stitch. I'm currently working on one other, and I also have crochet projects going on, so it's gonna be a balance, and that's why 2 parts are going to be amazing for this. But I've been talking to you guys for long enough. I'm gonna go finish Revival, and I will get back to you.
In time we'll tell if we can connect more than physically. But for now, can you shut the door? Can we intertwine? I'm not one to give flowers, no. Everything that's eventually.
You know the feeling when you talk about a book to somebody review style, like you're giving them the rundown on what you think, and then let's say for instance, you go to tell somebody else about it and you're like, oh, I already told you this, right? And they're like, no, and you're like, oh, that was somebody else. That's the feeling I get with you guys, because I think I just gave the rundown of this to my friend and I thought I filmed it. I have no idea, but I'm looking, I can't find the footage. That or I deleted it. I don't know. But the thing is, it's been a minute since I've read this. So yeah, I have no idea. I have already read the second book that you guys are about to see, but I wanted to come back to review this first. I think I mentioned it in the next clip as well, but I do have my new hair. It's pretty vibrant versus definitely the last clip where my hair was not this red. So yeah, I have done my hair since I last seen you guys. And like I said, I've read another whole book for this video since I last seen you guys. So I'm trying to not get my thoughts confused with this one because I feel like I've read so much Stephen King again lately. This one, I do still have some of my notes, thankfully. We follow Jamie Morton, and it's kind of like decades. We go through his life, his young life of, I think I kind of explained it in the last clip, how he, just kind of how the beginning is just getting to know him, getting to know the minister, the Methodist minister, Charles Jacob, in Harlow, Maine. And it kind of just starts with getting the lowdown on all the townspeople and the area and these two characters in general. And then tragedy strikes both of them and their families, which leads them down two different paths. The priest or minister being kind of like kicked and thrown out by the townspeople, and making his way, you know, out on his own somewhere else in the world, and the tragedy and everything else that our main character, Jamie, goes through sends him down a spiraling path of substance abuse and whatnot. It really is a journey with character development throughout. They have this moment of like bumping into each other after all of these years where they kind of like rekindle their past together and like this bond that they kind of have over the tragedy they went through, but it definitely turns sour and becomes very dark. We have this Mr. Jacobs who, instead of a priest now, he is a salesman, and I definitely got the Pirelli's miracle elixir moment from Sweeney Todd.
Pirelli's miracle elixir, anything more slick, sir, soon sprouts curls. Try Pirelli's when they see our fixer. You can have your pick, sir, of the girls. Wanna buy a bottle,
What
missus?
is this?
What is this?
Smells like piss.
Smells like ew.
That's what he is. He is putting on a performance and trying to sell these miracles to people now. And again, it's been a minute, so I'm trying to remember what's in the synopsis, like what's not too spoilery, but he does have this certain, yeah, I don't think it's in the synopsis. There's a certain aspect that very much so helps him with these miracles that are damaging. It really takes revival to the next level. It's not the typical, I feel like, religious horror that I personally pick up, although I really do like the science versus religion going on, the messages and the talking of it here. It's also really interesting because it almost kind of feels like a Frankenstein type of vibe. It's different, but there's aspects to it that are really cool. And it's also really cool because I'm currently filming my Frankenstein video at this point as I am telling you guys my thoughts on this book. So it's kind of a cool little mashup moment. But yeah, I rather enjoyed this. I don't think it was anything too heavy on like religion and trauma and that type of horror. I feel like it really was just a show another side of religion and what we can do with it horror wise. And I feel like there's still plenty of metaphors here, like a corrupt minister, and you know, the brainwashing and all of the background stuff of really feeding into the performance for the people and them just taking the bait. Besides that though, I gave it a 4-star. I really enjoyed my time with it. Wasn't a perfect 5 for me. There was moments that were in Stephen King fashion, very wordy, and in some cases it works for me. In this case, it didn't work for me as much, but the moments that hit really hit. So it was a rather good one.
Say I'm acting like a vampire now. Probably why I never show my teeth. I'm having trouble sleeping on you. I'm having trouble sleeping on you. I'm having trouble sleeping with you. You got 'em running circles in the track of your hand. Though I'm out of a party you plan, but it's worthless. And can it be your friend? Cause I prefer a girl like you stand, but I hate the way you always acting sus. So she's saying I'm the one you trust. What am I supposed to do when I'm on the run? I'm tired cause I'm having trouble sleeping on you. I'm having trouble sleeping on you. I'm having trouble sleeping with you.
I am back after quite some time. I don't even know if my new hair was in the first part of this video. I got busy with some other things, but I'm back for this video now because I actually didn't pick up The Boys in the Valley because it was due back at my library. So I am on the wait list again to get it. I'm going to read it in this video. I still have the audiobook, so I'll either be doing it fully audiobook or I'll see if it's available yet at my library again. With that being said though, I do own a copy of American Rapture, and I just seen on my Hoopla library app that I can get the audiobook. So I was like, sold. I'm just gonna go ahead and start this one now. CJ Leede, whew. She's my girl, but she is a wild one with her writing. She wrote Mayfly, and it is one that I don't broadly recommend because it is such a wild time, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't really enjoy it. It's one of those that people are like, have you read Mayfly? And I'm like, yeah, what did you think? And then they're just like, oh my gosh, it was just wild. I'm like, yeah, but deep down I'm like, I loved that book. It is like a guilty pleasure book. It is pretty intense. So I expect nothing less with this one, especially from what I've heard about this one, how much I've read so far. I'm like at the 50% mark already because I am devouring it. But before we talk about this, I did want to mention I also just read her short story. And I'm mentioning this because she actually posted on her Instagram about how like you will not get a lot of short stories from her because it takes so much energy for her to even write one. She says it takes so much more energy than even a novel because there's so much you have to fit in so little space, and it stresses her out really bad. So she's like, I did this for Aardvark and the One Bad Night. I have a whole video on it if you guys want to check it out, but her story, Red Tide, in that book was one of my favorites. I loved it so much. I'm just obsessed with her writing. I'm obsessed with her personality and the style that her stories are told, and just the overall good vibes that she brings. Because although her stories are dark, somewhat depressing, very heavy, very jarring, and just like splatterpunk. What I will say about her though is in the core of it, I see a lot of myself in her writing because I feel like it's almost like one of those authors where you kind of feel like they're writing from a hurt place or from a past trauma. I don't know her life story, so this is just me like word vomiting and just blabbering right now. But as the reader of her books, I connect so much with it because of my past trauma that this book is already like picking me up because it is just, oh my gosh, it's so triggering. American Rapture came out last year. It was her book for last year. I got this incredible copy through Aardvark. You guys know I love Aardvark so much, but oh my gosh, this cover, stunning. I also want to mention that like her photo, like the color theme of it goes with the book, which I find so freaking cool. I love when authors like switch it up a lot like that. But also, I'm gonna take this off now because I will always brag about the colors that Aardvark goes with because, are you kidding me? It's gorgeous. And then the foil green, oh, so good. Also, it's a freaking signed copy. I died when I seen that. I seen it on there and it was one of their past picks and I was like, I think this might have been like one of the first aardvark books I got because of that. And I was like, it's signed, I want it. And it is just so stunning. I've heard minimal things about this book, but enough to already jar me ahead of time and to let me know what I'm getting myself into. Definitely check your triggers with CJ Leede, always. But I haven't read the actual synopsis yet because I wanted to still go into it kind of blindly. But now that I'm at the 50% mark, I want to go ahead and read it with you guys. Never been kissed, about to get screwed. A virus is spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust. Sophie, a good Catholic girl, must survive the hellscape of the Midwest to try to save her twin brother while the world around her burns. Along the way, she discovers there are far worse fates than dying a virgin. That's literally it. Like, she's so vague with the synopsis because, my God. I feel like I would get flagged if I talk too much about this book on YouTube even. So I'm going to like tread lightly here because it is very dark. Yeah, when they're infected, it's this like craving for lust and a way of being a rapist, if you will. And that's like as far as I'm gonna like take it there and talk about that part of it. But yeah, people are getting infected with this virus and attacking in that way. If that's not enough to jar you already. But what I love about this book is that I'm at the 50% mark and following Sophie, this poor girl who's been raised in the Midwest, very sheltered, homeschooled, in a religious family. She's very restricted. Her parents don't talk to her about anything like that she should know in life. And anything from the outside world that gets to her is so jarring and just like a gut punch and just like, oh my God, I don't know anything. And then being thrown out in a world like this that is falling apart and going mad, and she has to fend for herself. Like, how, when this is the way that she's been raised? Triggered because it's exactly how I was raised. And I don't talk about it a whole lot. I think that it's easy to pick up on it, especially whenever I'm reading religious horror books. And like the previous clip, I kind of talked about it, how I'm triggered by these things, but I still crave these type of books. I think it's like healing in a way. But if any author has been able to describe things that I, like little me, had went through and how I felt and all of that, it's the first part of this book. Like, it's just, it's so sad. It's devastating. I cried. I was just sitting there crying while I read it because in a way, yes, it is healing to me to be seen and heard and be like, there's others out there who have experienced this, whether that was CJ's story or not. I feel like acknowledging that there are girls and boys out there who have experienced this, who have lived through this. And it's not even just Sophie, but also her twin brother being shipped off to this like institute because their son is sinful. And it's Camp Damascus vibes. It's so many things wrapped up in this, but it is definitely the first book that's so heavy on the topic of the average day. I feel like 90s, 2000 babies and what they went through with very religious and strict parents in the Midwest. So if you're one of them, if you're a survivor of that and you've got through it and you've broken free, please do yourself a favor and pick this up if you're able to with your triggers, because you too will just be like, wow, she really painted that picture of my childhood. With that being said, there is this outbreak going on and I don't know how to feel about it. I'm still really enjoying it. It's still landing at like a 5-star for me right now, but I am curious to see like where this is going to go with this character. Because although I can relate with the Sophie character a lot, with how she's raised in her life and stuff. The way that she thinks for the most part, yeah, too. She's just very innocent and very naive, and obviously because of the way that she was raised. But there is this also like the human urge of her like wanting to lust over somebody, having these feelings that are completely normal. She's a 16-year-old girl. Like, she's gonna have these feelings. That I love the way that she has written this, but there's also moments where Sophie will think things or do things that are completely different than what I would think. There's also been other questionable people, and I feel like this is gonna end up breaking my heart in the end, and I feel like it's gonna get even more traumatic and awful. But I'm along for the ride, and I am really, really liking this pick so far, and I'm mad at myself for putting it off as long as I have. I honestly feel like this is going to definitely like signify that CJ Leede is going to be a favorite author of mine for sure. With that being said, segue into the craft because I have started. It is a lot smaller than what I thought it was going to be, but I did go pick up some Aida fabric. I just did 14 count. I really am just winging this project, if I'm being honest. I still don't know who designed it. I went back and forth between two different designs and I landed on this one. I've just seen it pop up on Pinterest a lot, so if you do know the creator, let me know. And yeah, I didn't know who created it. I've just seen so many different people posted it. I'm like, whose design is this? But I love it. It is going to be the Burning Church design, and I'm just using regular black floss. But you guys, I was like, I'll just go through, you know, my colors and see what red I have and just use it. And I'm going through all my colors and I'm like, you know, it'd be really, really funny if, because, you know, if you didn't know, floss are all like numbered. So like this one is 310. They're all numbered. So, well, they're numbered and that's how they're sorted too. Anyways, I'm like, it would be really funny if 666, you know, because it's just like on theme, is a red shade. And it just so happens, it almost matches my hair. It just so happens to be like the best like fire shade, like an orange red. I'm obsessed with it, but it literally is 666. I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe. Anyways, obsessed. And I'm just using these two shades on there, and I'm loving how it's turning out so far. Definitely gonna keep working on it as I'm listening to this audiobook. The narrator's been great. I am a little sad that it's not the same narrator as Mayfly, because that was Sosie Bacon, and I love her. But it's been a great time, and I'm liking listening to it because I can work on the cross stitch at the same time. So yeah, I will update you guys with progress on the book and the cross stitch soon.
And I'll probably deserve it, whatever name you calling me. Hope you know this ain't worth it, if you wanna fall in love with me. As bad as your notification sounds, sorry, been keeping this whole conversation cold. I'm like ice on skin, my head shivering. Will I get over being over? Making pictures don't belong in DMs. I've been trying to find out who the fuck I am. Put me in me a really tight pinch. Push away all my really close friends. Kicking to the curb, no sentimental what up. If you come by my house, could it really hit us? Till the lights on my laptop burn up. You know I said I heard you, you know I said I heard you.
All right, today's check-in is what it is. You guys will be able to see yourself in the mirror. But I am getting ready. We're about to go out the door to go get dinner, and then tonight is our city's loud car. Tonight is our city's like holiday Christmas parade. So yeah, we usually go and watch that. So that's the plans. I did, however, finish American Rapture, and I want to talk to you guys about it. I'm gonna be finishing getting ready. But first of all, this book is not for everyone, okay? I acknowledge that, and I'm stating that here. So if you go into this book and you're like, oh my gosh, Allie, it's kind of like Mayfly, where I feel like with Mayfly, it's kind of there's definitely an audience for it, but that's not really one that you can like pinpoint and be like, if you like this, you will like this book. Because I feel like even if I say, if you like splatterpunk, you'll like this book, that could possibly be untrue because there's still so many elements to the story. With that being said, I think a lot of people could enjoy American Rapture. It has like this apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic type of vibe to it. I feel like the premise of why, like the virus and all of that, is jarring enough to steer some people away, but it does have like this almost like character development throughout, a gathering of people, becoming like this core group that are sticking together and trying to like make it to from point A to point B, almost like the Stand type of vibe. Yeah, I think if you enjoy stuff like that, there's aspects of this you will enjoy, but you have all of the other elements on top of that. But this is going to land more for people like me who have trauma in the past with their religion, people who maybe have broke away from religion since then and have been trying to find themselves over the year, or doing a lot of personal healing, if you will, a lot of self-discovery and figuring out what life means to them. And it's a really heavy topic. This book starts with this girl who is in a very strict religious family and is now thrown into a world that's so different. And it's kind of like she has to fend for herself in a way, and it shows you how somebody with that mindset of being so sheltered, they can't take care of themselves. And I feel like I related so much with that in my day-to-day life, because there's the haha funny moments of being like, oh my gosh, I'm an adult. Or like, I can't believe I have kids. Like, I have kids. Aren't I still a kid? Like, yeah, we have like these thoughts, and I feel like that's normal for a lot of people. That's why people go through midlife crisis and stuff like that. But like, no, there's certain things in my adult life that I struggle with that I'm like, why am I struggling so bad with this? Like, everybody else is out doing these things, and yes, everybody has their own demons and anxieties and what have you, but like, me relating to this character so much of like just day-to-day life things that give me such bad anxiety that I can so easily, if I don't take care of myself and watch myself, I can slowly start to become an agoraphobic again, which means somebody who is terrified of leaving the house. And that is something that I have dealt with a lot of my adulthood life, because I was so sheltered and I went through so much of that like I could relate with this poor girl so much. And she does read very young, and she is 16. So it did kind of take me back to my time then, like my teenage self and what I went through versus where I'm currently at. But the character development of this character, even with the smallest things, like throughout this book, was so good and like so healing and refreshing to me, because yeah, you have major things like her trying to figure out who she is now and trying to adapt to this scary world and not knowing anything and having to ask the stupid questions, and people look and turn heads like, are you okay? You know, like, were you born yesterday? When they just don't understand that type of like mindset, and that it's not her fault that she was raised this way. The big things of her like finding her people too, who are going to help her navigate this new life. And there's also the little things that I love so much, like her finding out herself in ways of like what she likes, because she can finally think for herself. Those things were just so healing to the soul to see this character development through her. Religious cult-like mind of not being able to think for yourself it leads you into a dark place of just not knowing who you are and not ever being able to think for yourself, to appreciate yourself, to not feel ashamed of yourself. There's so much self-worth discovery in this too that is also really healing. You live that life, you're expected to be a certain person. You're expected to be a copy paste of who they want you to be. So it's so refreshing to read about somebody else experiencing that moment of just pure utter bliss of just being like, wait, like this is who I am. This is what I like. And I feel like CJ Leede wrote it so beautifully. Obviously, we have the main plot, which is this virus, which is very sexual oriented. And once it infects someone, they just become this raging lunatic who is attacking people in a sexual manner. It's very, very jarring. I think the metaphors there is that this is something, though, that does happen. I mean, there's people who are not getting infected and doing these horrible things, and sadly, a lot of them get away with it. But on top of that, this book is so filled with sexuality that I just want to make it very clear that, like, if you don't like reading about that kind of thing, you're not going to like this. I do really like the way that CJ Leede talked about this young girl figuring out her sexuality. She's very curious. She's very scared. She's interacting very closely with men and women for the first time in her life in a way that she is thinking with that mind's, space of like her sexuality, that everything is very heightened and everything is intense, but at the same time, she's also like questioning now, like, am I infected because I'm having these thoughts? Why would I be having these dark thoughts? They're so unholy. And it's because that's the way that she was raised to think. She was raised for it to be a taboo thing and not a normal concept of the human life. Another big part that I feel like is prominent in this too, that it touches on, is the women's place in society, and especially in religious backgrounds and how they view women. Oh my gosh, it's a huge thing, definitely sprinkled throughout in this book, and a subject that needs to be talked about more. If you know the whole umbrella effect, that's the vibe I was getting from this when she's talking about like how the women in her religion are viewed. Her being so sheltered that she's not used to the fact that like times have changed. People are shifting gears on that. Women are fighting for their equality, and it's a very jarring aspect to her, but also very empowering. And seeing that in her character development is wow. Again, reading from her point of view is not going to be for everybody. If you've been through this, I think it'll hit home a little bit more for you, to a way to where you will get some enjoyment out of this as long as you're not triggered. If you read these types of horror like me to heal and to feel seen and heard, I think you'll really enjoy this. You do have to look at her as a child, not just that, but a sheltered child. So I feel like people's quick remarks of like this character and the way that she is, I don't know, I just feel like it's all looked over just because maybe they haven't experienced that. And everybody's story is different. Everybody's going to handle things differently. She's working through trauma. This book is so jarring, it's so sad and devastating, and there's so much more into it. There's another huge trigger warning that I would normally give to you guys, but I don't want to spoil anything else. I think that this is a book that if you have any triggers whatsoever, to check before you jump into this, because yeah, there's a lot. And you'll happen across the one that I'm talking about as well if you are triggered by anything, even if it's not like religious or the sexual side of things. There's other triggers in this as well that you may hate from books that would steer you away. So yeah, just check. 5 stars. This is a very deep, meaningful book to me. One of the best of my year. I'm so glad I finally got to it. I'm kicking myself once again for putting this off for as long as I have. The audiobook was also great. I definitely cried many times. I feel another piece of my soul healing with this. And also reading the afterword, which if you have the audiobook, it's narrated by CJ Leede herself. And it's beautifully done. And I just loved being able to get that insight from her. I'm so sorry to her and what she's been through. So much love her way, but also thanks, because while I feel like this was probably really healing for her to write, it was very healing for me to read. With that being said, another great book done. Also, update on the cross stitch. I don't actually have it, so I'm going to throw up a video. I've made so much progress on it, and I'm going to be starting The Boys in the Valley. So I thought I would just show you where I'm at right now. This project is so much smaller than I thought it was going to be. So I'm just kind of flying through it. It's really coming together. I love the shades so much. And yeah, I can't wait for it to be finished and to find a frame for it and a place for it. And yeah, on to the next book. The Boys in the Valley. This is by Philip Fracassi, I think is how you pronounce the last name. I'm so sorry if that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Fracassi. Real quick here, I have to do another mention because this was one of my friend Rex for 2025. And so I wanted to shout her out. I actually just shouted her out in a recent video, my book club video. This book was recommended to me by my friend Sarah, Voided Lux on Instagram. She is also the person who hosts In the Void Book Club. So yeah, I have mentioned her quite a few times on here. She makes incredible bookmarks and stickers and all kinds of stuff for our book club. And it's a virtual book club quarterly. So we meet 4 times plus one more time for like a little mini one during the holidays. And yeah, this was the book she recommended for me. She actually sent me so many. I had asked her and she said, let me noodle and I will get right back to you. And she sent me a bunch of her reviews on Goodreads of some of her favorites, like Hellhound by Ken Greenhall, Unbury Carol by Josh Malerman, which I really want to get to. I love Josh Malerman. Those are 2 favorites from 2023 for her. Now that I'm thinking about it for future Allie, I may, instead of reaching out to her again and asking for more recs, I may circle back for 2026 and use her once again, because as I'm reading through why she's recommending these, there's so many more I want to get to that she's recommending. So spoiler, she will be one of my picks for 2026. But next up, she said 2 from this month, and this was back earlier this year. That was Skullface Boy, A Coming of Age Road Trip by Chad Lux. I can't remember how you pronounce his name. I haven't read anything from him yet, but I do want to. She's recommended him many times. But the other one was Boys in the Valley. She said, Boys in the Valley, I just finished, and it's one of the best horror I've read all year. I had a semi-flop era. So yeah, thank you to Sarah. I don't know if she'll watch this, but thank you so much for the recommendation. I'm so excited to jump into this. St. Vincent's Orphanage for Boys, early 20th century. Ooh. In a remote valley in Pennsylvania, here under the watchful eyes of several priests, 32 boys work, learn, and worship. Peter Barlow, orphaned as a child by a gruesome murder, it was very gruesome, I've already read the beginning and it was so jarring, has made a new life here. As he approaches adulthood, he has friends, a future, a family. Then, late one stormy night, a group of men arrive at their door, one of whom is badly wounded, occult symbols carved into his flesh. His death releases an ancient evil that spreads like sickness, infecting St. Vincent's and children within. Soon, boys begin acting differently, forming groups, taking sides. Others turn up dead. Now Peter and those dear to him must choose sides of their own, each of them knowing their lives and perhaps their eternal souls are at risk. I just started this. The very beginning is what happened to Peter's parents and his childhood, and it's devastating. It's already so heartbreaking and just a lot. I am now into the boys at the orphanage and how it's kind of ran. It's kind of just, they have like pretty much corporal punishment of like being locked in a room of silence or going without meals and just really sad things like that going on in this. It's been a little hard to tackle so far because I have a really hard time with children in books. But with that being said, this is my first from Philip and I'm loving the writing style. It's so beautiful and I'm excited to see where it goes because I do have another from him on my shelf that I'm hoping to get to sooner rather than later. So yeah. But that is the check-in. I'm gonna go eat some dinner and go see the Christmas parade, and I will be back soon with my review.
If I heard you wrong, you could put it on me. If I heard you wrong, you could put it on me. Got no baggage, I'm okay. No FaceTime for this face. It's a 45-minute drive from the west side back to my place. I'm stuck on 4 or 5, like 4 or 5. But a lot of time to just think. Got a lot of shit on my plate. Gotta get my head on straight. It's time to say it's over now. So gone by yesterday. By the way, it's all the ways. If you couldn't tell nothing by the look on my face. Making pictures don't belong in DMs. I've been trying to find out who the fuck I am. Pull me in, need a really tight pinch. Push away all my really close friends. Peek into the cooler, no sentimental what up. If you come by my house, could it really hit us? Till the lights on my laptop burn up. You know I said I heard you, you know I said I heard you. It's time to cover right now. Thinking how the fuck I ended somehow. Why am I tongue drown it all out? Tired of the taste of blood in my mouth. Wait up, I can't respond right now. Wait up, I might be gone right now. Wait up, just know you're coming in loud. Just know I heard you by now. And if I heard you wrong, you could put it on me. If I heard you wrong, you could put it on me.
Hello, I am back at it. And I have a lot of updates for you guys. First of all, the whole point of the video, the last book that I'm reading for this part, I definitely want to circle back to some religious horror, and I will. But I have finished Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi, and I'm landing at a 4-star. While I did really love this, I feel like I already gave you guys the synopsis and a lot of details in the beginning. So I'm gonna be brief here because I don't want to spoil anything. The book continues with this house of boys and honestly just their devastating life. But they do have this encounter where this injured man is at their door and he has these satanic symbols, you know, carved in him and stuff. And after helping him, or once he's gone, like, things just start changing, the dynamic. And when I tell you, the writing style of this is so creepy and eerie and just, oh, I was creeped out so many times by how these kids were acting. Very satanic and like possessed. That's the vibes. And you know I love a possession story, but when half of the kids are starting to become like these little demons and the other ones are like fighting for their lives, trying to stay alive, it is so heartbreaking. It's very intense at times. I do feel like it leads into the territory of religious horror that I typically don't like, as in like, God is the answer, God is the outcome. Not saying that this is fully that, but there's moments in this where the father is like trying to not talk him into it, but still like telling him like you'll have eternal like just joy and it's gonna be everything you've ever hoped for and all of this shit about this young boy becoming the next priest, father, whatever, going down that route. And he has to make the choice between living a regular life where he gets to go and be with the girl that he's crushing on, or to give it all up to become this holy being, pretty much. And those aspects of the story, I honestly really didn't like. Yeah, I feel like when religious horror, whatever type of media it is, whether it's books, movies, whatever, when it leans more into the, you know, through God, like, don't get me wrong, I love a good exorcism, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it has to really be balanced out and done well. Otherwise, I'm just like, nope, I'm out of here. So with this one, I just didn't like the way that it went in that direction a lot, or the conversation it had with it. It was almost like I couldn't figure out for the longest time if it was even the author who was pushing Christianity into the book, and that's what I don't like. I want my religious horror to be fun. I want it, or meaningful and like healing in a way, but this type with like possession and stuff like that, I get that there's going to be the religious aspect of like Christianity, the priests, the exorcism and all of that, and I'm here for it, but I want it to be more horror based, possession based than that. And I will say it did deliver on that, you know, side of things as well. I overall really liked the storytelling, and like I said, like, people are not lying with the blurbs. When there was terrifying parts, it was so creepy, the atmosphere was incredible. But yeah, it is a 4-star. I had a great time with it. It's just not a perfect 5 for me. But I am really excited to pick up his next one and see what I think about it, since it's not religious horror and just like, I think like a slasher. I think it'll be a fun time, especially with like how he wrote the gore and horror bits in this one. That part was really, really cool. And with that being said, it's time to wrap up the video. I mean, as far as the books go, because I feel like I had some really good reads. Going from Revival, which I took away as showing religious horror in a way of like, people are humans at the end of the day. They're gonna make mistakes. They're like, you can't put people on pedestals and expect them to be perfect. And more so than not, they show us that they are not. And sometimes it's in the worst ways. With American Rapture, ripped my heart out, but such a good time. It really has, that one has so many metaphors of just breaking away from that religious cult-like mindset, but also the damage that that type of sheltering and raising can do to an individual. I feel like is an important thing for anybody to like read, even if you haven't went through that, so that you can understand a little bit more, but going into it with an open mind of being like, this may not be for you, but this does happen to people. And there sadly is still people who raise their children this way, unfortunately. And then kind of throwing in a possession, satanic, ritualistic book that has these terrifying, gruesome attacks and just picking a side, if you will, and, you know, the whole church coming in to combat the evil possession, exorcism style vibe, if you will. I feel like there was just a really broad spectrum of religious horror in this video. I also, now that we're segueing out of the books, I wanted to mention that I finally watched the most recent and last Conjuring Last Rites. I think I'm landing at a 3 or a 4-star. I really haven't made up my mind. I kind of want to rank them. You see, the first Conjuring movie, 5 stars. I love that movie. I feel like this was the perfect time to watch this, to include it in this, because the same thoughts that I kind of just had for Boys in the Valley is the same thoughts I have for The Conjuring. But I feel like they've done it really well. I feel like they really balance out the horror and the religious aspects of, you know, the exorcisms and all of that. And I love it. It's definitely more the Exorcist vibe, and that's what I really like. If you're going to throw religion in my face in a way of being like, it is the good against the evil. Like, you have to do it the correct way. And I just feel like the Conjuring franchise just has always done that. I love their take on Ed and Lorraine. I know, problematic, the real ones, and I understand that, but like the Ed and Lorraine and the movies and the actors, Patrick and Farrah, like they can do no wrong to me and my eyes. With that being said, there is moments in these movies where like I'm rolling my eyes and being like, okay, like stop throwing Christianity down my throat, like, or down these people's throat, like, you know, they're going through enough already, okay? I don't know, I just overall love the cases and the stories and all of the different like conduits of these trinkets that are possessed, and then the overall like exorcism vibes are just immaculate every time. So yeah, the first one, Following a Family, that one's my favorite. It is just so good. I love the family so much. I love all of the aspects, and I love that The Conjuring always does these creepy like premonition things, like, not to spoil anything, but I feel like if you've watched any of the Conjuring movies, you're gonna know. But like the first movie, we have the kids playing hide and seek clap, which means they hide while somebody counts, and then the person who is seeking can ask them to clap, and wherever they're at, they have to clap. And seeing that in the beginning of the movie, you're just like, oh, well, that's gonna come into play, and it's going to be horrifying and terrifying when it's something else playing hide and seek clap with them. And the same with this newest one, Last Rites. There is this moment where the mom is talking on a phone that has a long, like, you know, the phones that are attached to the wall that have like the long cord. I had one growing up at one point before we went cordless, and so I love also the fact that Ed and Lorraine, when they did all these cases, were like back in like the 70s. Yeah, I believe just like the 70s and like 80s. If I'm not mistaken, maybe the 90s, but I love that we get to go back into those decades. It's so much fun every single time, and seeing all of the decor and how different technology and everything was back then. It's always like the added plus to these movies and the aesthetic. It's so good every time. But yeah, back to the phone, and the kids are like in the pantry next to it, like pulling on the cord like while she's on the phone, and I automatically looked at James and I was like, that's gonna be terrifying later. But yeah, I kind of want to do a tier ranking of the Conjurings. I did really like the second one. It was like, it took place I think in England, and it was like a mother, and I think maybe she had 2 kids, 1 or 2 kids. It definitely felt a lot more like The Exorcist with like Reagan. It definitely gives off a lot more of that vibe. And then the third one, which a lot of people hated on, I actually really liked. I liked the witch aspect. I liked the cult aspect and just the dark magic of all of it intertwined. And then on top of that, still having like this family dynamic that they're going and like helping. I liked it. I also liked all of the tie-ins, since this company, or you know, these people, the creators, they have not only the Conjuring franchise, but they have Annabelle, and then they have The Nun, and just all of them intertwined. The later movies, you can see that a lot more, how like The Nun is intertwined with the Conjuring, and Annabelle's intertwined with them, and Annabelle was intertwined with Last Rites, and I thought that that was really cool too. There's definitely those over-the-top Christianity religious moments that I'm just like, okay. There's also the cheesy effects sometimes that are just like wild, but I overall had a really great time with it, and there was definitely moments that were terrifying and very creepy. I really liked it, and I am so sorry. I am losing my light completely. Like, as I have filmed this, all natural lighting is going out the window because it is the afternoon. So I'm gonna be brief here, but I also finished. I'm so ecstatic with how it turned out. I am ready to wrap up this video, so although you guys don't get to see the finished product framed and everything else, I wanted to at least show you that I did complete it, It looks so good. Definitely a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be, but I'm obsessed. And I think I might actually already have frames that will fit this, so that's also a bonus. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of wash it, lay it out to dry, and then find a frame for it so I can get it up on the wall. I still haven't decided if I want it in my bathroom or in my bedroom yet. I want it to go with the vibe of whatever, I guess. I'm obsessed with it. I absolutely love it. So stay tuned for part 2, and you might get to see in that part it framed and where I decided to put it, as well as the church photos that I did not get to in this video, and also maybe another craft that I can think of before the next one that I can tackle and take you guys along with me, as well as some more religious horror books to read. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and taking the time out of your day to spend with me as I read throughout the week some religious horror and some crafting and watching movies. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video.
Stop staring, be quiet. Look at me, there I go, choking on my silence. And I don't think you want me 'cause I wanna keep it private. And I don't think you know me if you're not one.